Maybe it's not your fault, but it's still your responsibility. Most men who find red pill especially enticing, they often lean, and if you wanted a better life, nobody was coming to save you. You had to build yourself. In a lot of ways, it was a call to action that a lot of men needed. Women and feminism are the enemy. It's really, really hard to find love when you see women as the antagonist to your story. Slowly, it started kind of changing. Have you ever heard of the red pill movement? The self-improvement thing for men? Have you ever heard of the dark side of the red pill movement? To a lot of men, the red pill movement just looks like a self-improvement movement, right? It's about taking control of your life, becoming stronger, more independent, more successful. And at first, when it first started, that's exactly what it was. The term red pill originally comes from the Matrix, where taking the red pill meant waking up to the harsh truths of reality instead of living in a comfortable illusion. In the world of men's self-development, it came to mean waking up to uncomfortable truths about dating and relationships, bettering yourself, society. Originally, it was about growth and agency, taking personal responsibility, getting fit, getting independent, making money. But somewhere along the way, what started as just empowering people kind of shifted into anger and entitlement and division. I know that not all of it is that way, but a lot is, and today we're going to explore what the red pill was meant to be and what it's becoming. But first, just to introduce myself, my name is Peter. I run a coaching company. I help people with anxiety, depression, and limiting beliefs that are keeping you in self-sabotaging patterns. I love helping people. If you want to learn more about it, feel free to check out the link in the description. Anyway, the original red pill, okay, in the early days, red pill was about waking up, realizing that if you wanted to be better and if you wanted a better life, nobody was coming to save you. You had to build yourself. You had to work. Financial independence, emotional resilience, leadership. These were the pillars. Men were encouraged to read philosophy, get in shape, level up their skills. It was like an antidote to passive victimhood. In a lot of ways, it was a call to action that a lot of men needed. And for a lot of guys, it worked. A lot of people found confidence. A lot of people found purpose. A lot of people improved themselves and got married. And a lot of people found love through the self-improvement, right? But it didn't stay as pure as it was originally meant to be. Slowly, it started kind of changing. Honestly, I loved red pill and I related to it for a while. It made a lot of sense to me. I'm somebody who is deeply into self-improvement. I'm a very independent person. I just kind of went through some relationship crap. I was cheated on a couple of times in my dating life. Back then, I was really needy and I needed to get back onto my feet. I needed to start seeing myself as an independent person. I needed to start realizing that I was worth loving for me and not for who I was dating. Anyway, when I started learning about things like stoicism, love it. And the red pill, it felt super empowering. It was about taking control of my own life, and I loved that. I do think that it helped me, especially stoicism. Not that stoicism and red pill are directly connected, but they really helped me say, look, let go of what you can't control and become extremely competent in the areas that you can control. But then as time went on, and the more podcasts that I watched, the more red pill podcasts and videos, the more I realized that it was becoming something else, that it wasn't just about strength and personal responsibility anymore, but it was becoming extremely divisive. And that really didn't sit right with me. Most people can agree it's extremely important to be united. As a people, as a nation, united we conquer, divided we fall. And I'm really sick of division. I'm sick of political division, right versus left, liberal versus conservative. And one day it hit me. I'm like, a lot of red pill content is doing the exact same thing. It is dividing men from women. It's telling men that, yes, you need to be strong, but you need to be strong because you're a victim. And women and feminism are the enemy. And the truth is, it's really, really hard to find love when you see women as the antagonist to your story. I remember relating and yet feeling more and more frustrated every time I watched a red pill video. I was like, yeah, women are jerks. Women are the problem. And I started to feel more alone than anything. And so I decided to cut it out of my life, this resentment towards women that it was creating in me. Again, I think that the red pill has some really good things like teaching independence, teaching stoicism, teaching health and resilience, teaching financial independence. Those are great. But teaching division and teaching blame, you see what I'm saying? Honestly, I think that it's hurting a lot more men than it's helping. Most men who find red pill especially enticing, they often lean anxious in their attachment style. What do I mean by anxious attachment? It means that they're the kind of guys who find their identity in their relationships and in their connections. They feel like they're doing really well if they're dating a pretty girl, and they feel like they're failing if they're single. They're the type who get a lot of validation from external things. And so when everything hinges on your dating life, it becomes really, really easy to feel worthless if it's not going well, if it's not going the way that you pictured. And suddenly a woman not liking you isn't just disappointing. It feels more like a personal rejection of your entire worth as a human being. And it's hard not to take it personally. It's almost impossible not to get angry. And that's when red pill content feels so appealing. It's like, oh, you're hurt. You want answers. Then you run into a message that says, hey, better yourself. And you're like, yeah. It says, get strong. Yeah, make money. Yeah. And then they say, it's not your fault. And you're like, oh, it's because of women. That makes sense. It's because of society. It's feminism. Yeah. That checks out. And that's super seductive because it offers a very simple explanation for very complex emotional pain. And this is where it gets even trickier because a lot of men who are anxiously attached and stressed, they look at avoidantly attached people and think, oh, they are secure. That's what that's supposed to look like. They look very cool. They look indifferent. They look like they don't care. And a lot of anxious people think maybe that's why things are going well for them. Maybe it's because they don't care. Maybe it's their apathy. What they're missing is that it's not apathy that makes somebody attractive. It's non-neediness. That's extremely different. Those are two very different things. True non-neediness comes from self-worth, self-understanding, emotional regulation, and deep security. I'm not saying that avoidant people necessarily have these things. They are also very anxious. It just manifests in different things. Anxiously attached people feel a lot of fear if they're alone. Avoidantly attached people feel a lot of fear if somebody's encroaching on their freedom. So then there's this fake non-neediness that keeps happening. People have to pretend that they're apathetic because they're scared that if they act invested, then women are going to turn them away. When anxious men try to act avoidant without healing their deeper wounds and their limiting beliefs, it creates a really painful combination, which is a man who still desperately seeks love but hides behind a wall of fake indifference. And there's a gap between how he feels inside and how he presents himself outside. And it creates cognitive dissonance and it creates a lot of resentment. I have a client who fell into this category a little bit, who's super intelligent guy, awesome dude with super good intentions, very honest guy. However, he felt a desperate need to control the circumstances around him. And he felt extremely frustrated when things weren't working. Dating wasn't going super well for him. So he learned how to say just the right things, to control the circumstances, to get what he wants, to get dates. But he could never get a girl to commit long-term to an actual relationship, probably because he put too much stock and investments emotionally on those dates. His identity was hinging on how well the date went. Truth is, guys, no woman wants to be the reason that a man is doing well or poorly emotionally. They don't want to feel like they need to save you guys from anything. That's a lot of pressure to put on a woman. They're also just looking for love. Anyway, my client was getting really frustrated with his dating life. It wasn't going the way he wanted. He was paying for a lot of dates. And in Red Pill, one of the arguments is, if you're not a traditional woman, then you shouldn't get to expect traditional treatment. Meaning men shouldn't be expected to pay for dates anymore because there are no more traditional women. It's an extremely transactional way of looking at dating, saying, I paid for the date, so you owe me blank. I paid for the date, so I should get a kiss. I don't want to invest any more money until I get a return on my investment. Where's my ROI? Because I've already spent money on dates in the past, and so now I deserve a girlfriend. The truth is, I don't think women should ever be something that we see as being paid for. Their affection isn't something to be purchased. Just because you paid for a date doesn't mean that you have any stake or claim to
Maybe
that woman.
Yeah. Yeah?
Next time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Bye. Oh, and thanks for paying for dinner, by the way. Oh, but you can't come inside. Why not? Why can't you come inside? Oh, because you were nice to me all night.
Point is, they don't owe you anything. The thing is, love can never be purchased. You can never manipulate your way to love. You can never purchase your way to love. You can never manipulate your way to connection. Love and connection are always given as gifts. If they're forced, they are no longer love or connection. Another part of the problem here is that when we do things expecting a certain result, we're setting ourselves up for resentment. Saying, if I pay for the date expecting to be kissed and I don't get kissed, then it feels like paying for the date was a waste of money. Another example, if I do the dishes because I think it's going to earn me intimacy and I don't get that intimacy, then I'm going to be frustrated and resentful. For me personally, right now with the YouTube and Instagram videos that I'm making, if I upload videos saying I'm going to upload these videos because I expect to have so many followers or so many likes in a certain amount of time, it's going to make me extremely frustrated and resentful when it doesn't happen. Feel free to like and subscribe and all the things. No, just kidding. I needed to change my goal when it came to uploading things onto the internet because it used to make me really frustrated when it didn't render the results that I wanted. And now I have to say, this is just content for my clients so that they have another resource. This is just content that helps me get better at speaking in front of cameras. And that helped reduce the resentment. Point being, I'm going to say it again. Anytime we do something with an ulterior motive, it is setting us up for resentment. And I think this is what a lot of the red pill guys have done, is they've learned to resent women because they paid for the dates and they didn't get what they thought was their end of the bargain. And so now they feel robbed. They feel cheated. But I want to make it super clear. I don't think intimacy should ever be anything other than given. It needs to be a gift. Even if you're married to the person, you still aren't owed intimacy. Right. I learned this in kind of a humbling way. I remember before I got married, I was working really hard to stay abstinent. And I remember being frustrated at church one day because a preacher, somebody who had gotten married super young, was giving a sermon on chastity. And to be honest, it felt preachy and kind of self-righteous. I was 27 at the time, and I remember thinking, you have no idea what it's like to fight temptation for years. It's easy for you to talk. It's like, you're not allowed to have brownies. I've had brownies every day since I was a kid. And I remember just venting about this. I was like, this is so dumb. And I was talking to my dad. I was complaining about how unfair it felt and how I felt like I deserved something in return for my patience and my effort, for my righteousness. He said, let me be super clear. You will never deserve intimacy. You will never purchase it. You can never earn it. Intimacy is always something to be given. It is always a gift. And man, that hit me like a wall. That changed everything for me. Love is a gift. Intimacy is a gift. Sex is a gift. Connection is a gift. Even simple kissing or cuddling, it's a gift. And when we start seeing it that way, instead of something owed or earned, it frees us from resentment and it frees us from division. And it brings us back to what relationships were meant to be about in the first place, which is love freely given, love freely received. I think this is so important to really bring back the unification of men and women. Guess what, guys? Love feminism or hate feminism, extreme feminism, toxic feminism, regular feminism. The point is, things are different, and that's okay. Women still deserve your respect. You still should be a gentleman. You should still treat women with respect. There's nothing wrong with wanting to improve yourself, and there's nothing wrong with wanting to improve yourself for a woman, so long as you don't base your value in what the woman thinks of you. Improving yourself is one of the best things that you can do, but real strength isn't about controlling situations. Real strength is about resilience and compassion and connection. It's about choosing growth even when it's painful. It's about choosing responsibility. Taking responsibility, even when blaming the women in the world feels easier. I don't mean to call out any specific podcast, but my channel is not big enough right now for it to matter. So on the Whatever podcast, for example, they always bring in a lot of OnlyFans girls for them to debate. And guess what? I do think that OnlyFans is a problem. I think it kind of makes a mockery of a lot of really sacred things like the human body. That's a very Christian way to think about it, but I happen to be a Christian, so whatever, right? Again, I'm not saying that women are perfect and all the blame falls on the men, but I want this video to be about taking responsibility for you guys, for yourselves. Don't blame anybody. Maybe it's not your fault, but it's still your responsibility. Maybe it's not your fault, but it's still your responsibility. So if you ever feel like you've been pulled into an ideology that promises easy answers, just stop. Take a breath and remember what this journey is supposed to be about. This life is about you building yourself, not tearing other people down. That's a real red pill worth taking. And I think that's what the original intention of red pill was. So let's get back to that. Anyway, point is, this is just a rant. I hope that it helps. I hope that it added a little bit of clarity to some of the dangers of blaming and division that are happening. Consider sharing it with somebody who might need to hear it, or maybe not. Maybe that would be a little bit like, hey, you could really benefit from this video that talks about why red pill's a problem. Because I really don't think that red pill is entirely a problem. I just think that if we get too far down the road of blaming and divisiveness, then it is a problem. Does that make sense? Man, I am rambling. Anyway, if you're on your own path, your own growth, feel free, leave comments in the below, and I'd be happy to chat with you down there. Also, I run a coaching company, so if you notice that you are needy or you have some insecurities in relationships, feel free to use the link in the description and book an appointment with me. We're all in this together. You got this. Have a good day.